Now, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but I think it's a bit odd that as soon as we start talking about whether or not aliens are actually real, Anthony Richardson is entering the NFL and he's doing some special things in training camp already. So today we're going to focus and revolve around him and what are the real expectations in year one, because I think that already we can kind of crown him as one of the most athletic quarterbacks to play this game. Michael Vick's, Lamar Jackson's, Cam Newton's. Right now, I think he's already in that conversation, and that's based off his sample size. What we saw, everybody saw the big-time run at Florida against LSU, and he's 6'5", 240 plus, 4'4". That's easy for him. That's what he does, but it comes to the arm talent as well. Josh Downs, one of the more electric receivers in the draft, I think will be one of his big-time targets. He talked about the flick of the wrist, the ball will go 60 yards. And that's something special to have out of a quarterback. Now, I think he was wrongfully scouted when looking at this by some of the general media consensus, because it was the thought that he was so far away from being a starting quarterback in the NFL. And like I said, every guy has something to work on. Really, with CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Bryce Young, all of the guys, I think Bryce Young was the closest to really ready at day one. But looking at all of those guys, they had something to work on. And this was some of the same stuff. Now, when I say they were wrong about what they said about Richardson, some of the pocket presence things, and really when I look at him, I saw some mechanical things that he could clean up, and that really led to some of the completion percentages we saw. But really, he had some of the worst talent in this draft class as far as receiving weapons and offensive line. So now working with that and getting into the NFL, this is a team who's looking to make that next step. The Indianapolis Colts, they have a pretty solid roster, but they did not have the success they wanted last year. You got Shaquille Leonard coming back, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman. I can name off the guys. And I want to read through this article right here talking about some of the things he did yesterday so we can really get a sense of what I'm talking about. Richardson got all of the work in the theoretical first unit after Gardner Minshew had the honor of day one on Wednesday. Richardson did some nice things despite an overall so-so morning. During 11 on 11, he completed 3 or 4 passes, all of which were within 5 yards. Passes to Isaiah McKenzie, Evan Hall, and Michael Pittman Jr. during 7 on 7s. Richardson had the play of the day as he rolled to the left, flicked his wrist, and completed a deep touchdown pass to Alec Pierce of about 55 yards. So this is what I'm talking about. This is what Josh Downs is picturing in our head. Now, adding to that, much to the delight of the jubilant crowd, everyone went amazing when he made this throw. Richardson also had a moment that he probably liked back as he handed the ball off to Zach Moss on an option play that he could have ran the ball on. Some of those things we're working with, and also some of the things that I saw with Shane Steichen, taking that approach of, okay, we understand as a rookie, you're going to make some of these mistakes, but make those mistakes early. When we're dealing with the hot routes, when we're dealing with the blitz concepts, disguise coverages, you may not understand everything that you're seeing, and that's perfectly fine. But that's why we draft you, because we're a patient organization looking at everything he did with Jalen Hurts. This is a guy who I think is qualified to help Anthony Richardson take that next step. And if he takes that next step, I think we could be looking at a truly special quarterback. Now, we think about how Josh Allen came out of college and how Patrick Mahomes came out of college and Lamar Jackson came out of college. These guys were all special, but I think that the difference with Anthony Richardson is that he's special, but he has a lot of the traits that all of those guys, and it's kind of raw right now, but if he continues to work and continues to get better every day, and also adding to that, what some of the guys said with Jalen Hurts, why he took that next step, it was because of him. The coaches are nice and all of that is nice, but you got to have that legendary work ethic. And we all know Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a guy who's all business, all ball, all day. And I think Anthony Richardson is that same kind of package. Hearing some of the things he said in the draft combine interviews and what he said at the pressers, he said, I want to be one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Now, like I said, it's still early when we look at this, but for the Indianapolis Colts, I think it's hope. We got to think about how we got here and why this is so special and why this means a little more to that Indianapolis fan base, because Sam Ehlinger, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, PJ Walkers, we've done some things and had some experiments, and guys who we thought were coming in to help us win football games, it just didn't happen. Now you got Anthony Richardson, and even if Anthony Richardson, if he's not the guy, Gardner Minshew, he still had Minshew mania. So you got some hope for both guys at the quarterback position. But I think right now, time to put that spotlight on Anthony Richardson, because he's coming in, he's trying to light up the league. I mean, I cannot wait for these preseason games and everything coming on and doing the film breakdowns on the Bryce Youngs, on the CJ Strouds, on the Anthony Richardsons. And this is some information I wanted to bring to you guys because I want to know, out of all these quarterbacks, I think it's time we have the question. If Bryce Young hits his ceiling, I think he also has a high floor, but if he hits his ceiling, he's going to be special. CJ Stroud hits his ceiling, he's going to be special. Will Levis hits his ceiling, he's going to be special. But Anthony Richardson, if he hits his ceiling, I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL who I've saw with my own two eyes since I've been watching the game for a long time. I don't think there's quite a guy exactly like Anthony Richardson. I think he's unique. And when I say unique, that means I've never seen it before. That means it's nothing truly close to it. We think of the names, and a lot of people say Cam Newton's. We look at Lamar Jackson, his electric running ability. He could throw the ball as well. But I don't think that's fair to Anthony Richardson. This is a different package, and what a lot of coaching staffs were looking at and how he really rose in the draft. You know, he started 1 year at the University of Florida, but I think that some coaches are saying, all we got to do is be patient. We're seeing this in the NFL draft now. It's a lot of teams. And there's another guy at Tennessee right now, Joe Milton, has an electric arm, but we're seeing the traits and how teams are willing to bet on those traits. And now getting into the draft, we're saying, okay, we believe in our structure. We believe in our culture. We believe in our coaching staff. And not only for this team do I think that Shane Steichen is the guy, but before we get out of here, I want to touch on the weapons lastly. You got a Michael Pittman, a big body receiver who can eat in the middle of the field. You got Alec Pierce, another burner out of Cincinnati. I mean, they've been producing those guys at wide receiver. Back-to-back drafts. We got Tyler Scott, who had Alec Pierce, two guys who can run. Now, understand that Alec Pierce, he's about 6'3", 215 plus, and he can run with that frame and size. So that's a different build than Scott. But still, a guy who can push down the field and get behind coverages. Josh Downs, Isaiah McKenzie's, all of the things that we have working. And don't forget that horse in the backfield. That's Jonathan Taylor. Now, we're expecting this offensive line to get back to form. You drafted Blake Freeland, Quentin Nelson, hoping for a bounce-back season. So there's some things already working in there. But when I talk about this team and all of the guys, I think this was one of the perfect situations for Anthony Richardson. And again, does not have to start right away. But if he continues on this pace, the hype really portrays to be real. He's going to be that guy, and he's going to be special in the NFL.